Hello, hey, how's it going? Today's topic, why is my house so cold? Because it is cold, it's around 13 degrees inside. A couple of days ago, it was 6 degrees inside, and we managed to get temperatures of minus 17 in the Kattvind, which I don't know what the word is in English, but it's kind of like an attic on the side. Anyway, right now it's pretty mild. However, last winter season, and to some extent this winter season, has been so cold that it's kind of like heat just takes one look at this place and goes, nah, I'm just gonna state potential, thanks. But we're going to be addressing the question, why is my house so cold? In order to do that, I have a special tool. Gör det själv, do it yourself. Ja, det är bra. Vehicle system malfunction. Nice. Now I just went to my local library where for free I managed to loan out this rucksack. A little tangent, but something I pieced together that I thought was cool. Rucksack, as far as I know, means nothing in English, but in Swedish it translates to ryggsäck. Rygg meaning back and säck meaning sack, backsack. So maybe we took this word from Swedish in the same way that we took and subsequently bastardized the word smörgåsbord, sandwich board, smörgåsbord. Anyway, I didn't loan out this backpack because of the sick reflectors. Much like finding a good partner or a calculator, it's what's on the inside that counts. Here we have a fairly decent thermometer, a multi-plug outlet, an energy meter to measure the consumption of different appliances, and a bunch of instruction manuals for all the little chapter chasers in the world. Oh look, another plug. This one's pretty shameless. It says like and subscribe. And then finally we have this thing, a heat camera. So essentially, i grund och botten, a heat camera, or a värmekamera, is like a camera. It has the camera sensors that you'd expect from a normal camera, except it allows you to see heat and to some extent moisture. Think of it like the movie Predator. The Predator sees through infrared. So if you were the Predator, this is what you'd be seeing. I guess you have to pretend I'm Arnold. If something is hot, it will appear like a very bright yellow or red or orange. And if it's really cold, then it will appear like purple or blue. Now in some cases, you might see cold spots that are actually not cold spots. They appear as such, but they're actually moisture spots. I'm a Muppet. I'm not going to be able to tell the difference between a cold spot and a wet spot, so I'm just going to assume that everything's a cold spot and then talk to a professional about it. Without further ado, let's get heat seeking. First up, the kitchen. Huge room, a lot of heat escapes here. Notoriously, this place has been regularly 6 degrees Celsius, or blah blah blah. So let's get scanning. Just 6.8, 13.8 degrees indoors. So obviously the windows are going to be somewhat cold. But you can see in the corners of the windows, 1.1, 1.6, minus 2. I saw minus 2 here, which means that there's probably way too much air that can get through. Oh, there is, I can feel it. One of the cool things here is that we can notice there's a bit of a draft here. We've already fixed windows in another room, but these absolutely need to be fixed. This radiator here doesn't work, so it seems like a lot of draft is coming in from the crack between the floor and the wall. So that's something that we would definitely need to fix. And in terms of temperature, it gets 2.5 degrees, a bit too cold for my liking. Then we're going to go past Media's plants that she's trying to save because it's being too cold. There we have it, a good old-fashioned radiator working its ass off. Something that we know is cold is this kind of storage room. So if we have a look here, it's more or less warm, 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 and then down by the ground, it gets quite cold. And if we look inside, on the floor, that it gets really cold. And then up here, oh wow, there's a cold draft here. Again, with this window, you can see that the whole windowsill is kind of warm because of the radiator underneath. And then we have holes here that are allowing the heat to go through. But you can see that we haven't done this window and so there's a bunch of draft. So if we take a look here, let's see. This one isn't so bad, at 1.92, yeah. In the corners, it just seems like the heat is getting trapped everywhere. I think the radiator is helping this one a lot though. So, good job, window. Now, we're getting really low temperatures here, just under the closet. There's a lot of water on the floor right now, because I'm terrible at washing up. But it also appears that there's a door here, so I'm guessing this is where the crawl space is meant to be. Now if we open the door here, yeah, it's more or less 4 degrees. It's not as bad as I expected in there. And then we have the tile, so you can see that there just is obviously no insulation on the flooring, and so we're getting a bit of darkness trapped in the corners. Now, I live in what's called a Sekelskifteshus, which in English translates to a turn-of-the-century house. Houses that were built between the late 1800s and the early 1900s. Now, my house was registered in 1904, which doesn't necessarily mean it was built then. In fact, we believe it to be quite a bit older than that, but it just means that it was registered during that time when a lot of records were starting to be maintained. The biggest thing about Sekelskifteshus, turn-of-the-century houses, is that they were designed and they were built for breathability. The idea being to allow air to flow through the structure of the house and create a constant movement of air that would prevent moisture buildup. Because of course, when you live in a wooden house, you don't want to see rot and mold forming because of too much moisture in the house. So you would expect to see something like a wood burning stove, or something that's really sought after now in Swedish houses called a kakelugn, which is a tiled stove, which, to be honest, I find them kind of ugly, but they're really effective and people really want them in their houses. Anyway, these heat sources allowed hot air to rise and circulate naturally throughout the house. We didn't have central heating at the time, obviously, so we couldn't pump hot air into every corner of the house. So it was really important to have this constant air movement. And that goes well alongside the other characteristics of a Sekelskifteshus, which are high ceilings, tall windows, and large spacious rooms in order for the heat to rise and the cold air to fall, and just have a constant flow of temperature in the house at all times. So there was a comment that I received in my last video saying, what, so we know the attic insulation is pretty bad, but what about the rest of the house? Is there no insulation in the rest of the house? And that's something that you should also know about turn-of-the-century houses, is that there's little to no insulation in the walls, and at least unless it's been put in afterwards. And if there is insulation in the walls, it's going to be significantly lower standard than what you'd have in modern day houses, which are built for a completely different purpose and completely different methods of keeping the house warm. You'll notice this when I'm going through the house, that the walls are really cold, and it's because they have very little insulation. And typically in Sekelskifteshus, what you have are houses built with thicker walls and materials that have a high thermal mass, so they absorb more heat. And that's why chimneys are so important in these types of houses, and the fact that we don't have functioning chimneys is such an issue right now, because the heat is meant to go from these sources and travel and be absorbed through these walls in order to keep the house warm. This is the book that's going to be saving my butt more often than not when it comes to renovating a Sekelskifteshus. So it's called Stora boken om byggnadsvård, which means the big book about building maintenance. Inspiration, tradition och praktiska råd, which means inspiration, tradition, and practical advice, written by Göran Gudmundsson. And this seems like it's going to be an amazing book. I've heard people on the internet say it's the Bible for this type of stuff, and I really do hope so, because I don't often spend 500 kronor on a book. Here you go. Here's a old kakelugn. Here's another one, and these are really good for heating a house. But I just skimmed through the book and it has everything that I need for the projects I'm going to be working on, and yeah, I think it's going to be in the videos quite a lot, and it's going to be invaluable for me, both to obviously make sure I'm fixing the house right, but also to practice my Swedish, because it's all in Swedish. There are words in here I have no idea about. Yeah, I mean, this is this is one of the projects we're going to be working on here. I don't know if you can see. It's about renovating windows, which is perfect. I wish I had this before I started bastardizing everything. So I think I'll use it to split up the philosophy classics. We have Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, classic, love it. And then we have Why Don't Penguins' Feet Freeze, which is the question we've all been wanting to know. So, nu för bra. Bunk. Now for the landing, we haven't worked on these windows either. Are they letting in much of a draft? 10.8. You can see that they're letting in too much cold anyway. 1.9 minus 1. Okay, yeah, so we're still getting a lot of draft through these windows. Ah, holy mother of Lord. Alright, the doors are doing nothing. It's -2 here in the corners. So clearly we need to work on the doors here. I thought the door was okay. Okay, so this is abysmal. We're getting -degrees on the door, so we need to sort this door out. Cool. And the last window. Yeah, look, 0.5. We're gonna have to fix these windows, of course. Cool. Let's move on to a room that we've actually worked on, okay? Let's move on to one of the warmer places in the house, and this would be our downstairs front room, okay? This is one of the areas that attaches to the chimney. When we get this fixed, it will be even better for circulating heat around the house. But right now, we have luftvärmepump, so hopefully you can't hear it with this microphone. We've got the air heating pump running, and we have also renovated these windows. They don't look nice just yet because we have tape all over them, but they should be warmer. Okay, there's still a bit of creep. Yeah, we still have a bit in the corners, but it's nowhere near as bad. Okay, so lowest I've seen is 3, but it just appears to be way better in most places. Maybe I can do a bit better on the the insulating rubber bit, but you can tell the huge difference. Okay, there is a bit here that needs to be fixed. 3. Oh, yeah. One of the clips isn't in. Huh. But yeah, let's have a look at some of the other windows. You can see that the renovations have really helped. There's still a little bit of cold coming in, but we're not going to be able to eliminate all the cold, of course. And actually, if you were in this room, you would feel just how much warmer it is. Oh, I have a temperature. I have a thermometer. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so in this room, we're reading around 21.2 degrees, which is good. But at the same time, I have the air heating pump on, and it is set to 30 degrees. So, yeah. I don't think this is that bad. So to be honest, I think we've done a good job with this room. The window renovations seems to have made a difference. The fact that we have curtains everywhere has made a bit of a difference, but we probably should get bigger ones and cut them a bit better. And once we get the fireplace up and running, that would be amazing. Onto the living room. Now, we don't use this living room in the winter now. Oh my god, it's way colder in here. Right now, it is reading at 12.9 degrees and sinking. I'll tell you in a few minutes. Look, you can see that the warm bits here are super cold. So the warm bits here are 0.7 degrees Celsius. The chimney itself, 0.5, 0.7, 0.7. The floor, 0.8. So it's like a consistent just above, just above freezing here. And it feels that way. It's very cold. Now, if I look at the door to the warmer room, 6 degrees. So the heat is radiating through. Okay. Now, our main culprits are definitely the windows. We need to do the windows here. Look, already, -2.2. Okay. So these windows, they look like they're in okay condition. Oh my god, that freaked me out. It's my reflection. -2.8, -8. -3. It's a constant minus. let's just check the temperature. The temperature is 3.7 degrees in this room, which is that's not good at all. Check out this spinning wheel, by the way. Doesn't that look awesome? So window number 2, let's check. I saw -7 just then. Things coming through the cracks. Can I feel this? Yeah, I can feel cold coming through this part of the house. Oh, now it looks boiling. Yeah. It's actually blue in reality. I don't know why the camera's making it go white. But yeah, I can feel a draft go through. I'm not going to take you through this Petal Paradise room, mostly because it's a complete mess and it's going to be the same as this room. But 0.5 going through the door, maybe it's going to be colder over here. But compared to the room here, where it's like 5.4 is radiating through the door, that's impressive. Let's compare Sekelskifteshus with modern houses, shall we? Modern houses are built for efficiency, to retain as much heat as they possibly can. So unlike a Sekelskifteshus, which relies on air circulation, it's trying to trap as much heat in the house as it possibly can, which is really good when energy costs are super high. So these modern houses are going to have more insulation and better insulation. They're going to have absolutely double glazed windows, if not triple glazed windows, and they're going to use construction techniques that will effectively make the house airtight. Everything is sealed up in order to minimize heat loss, and if it's done correctly, then it's probably absolutely amazing. It's a double-edged sword, because while you're preventing the warmth from escaping and you're keeping it all in the house, you're also limiting the natural airflow within the house because it's sealed tight, nothing can get in. And so what you need to do is you need to have specific ventilation systems in order to retain the good air quality. I've also spent a lot of my life in Ireland, a very wet country. I've lived in quite a few houses, both modern and not so modern, and every house I've lived in has had mold issues, which is neither fun nor healthy. I'm not saying that all modern houses are built like this, of course, but I think in a lot of cases it's just the classic principle of the more complex you make something, the more opportunity there is for something to go wrong. Now, according to Folkhälsomyndigheten, if your house is above 24 or 28 degrees Celsius, then it's considered unreasonably hot, and if your house is below 18 degrees Celsius, then it's considered unreasonably cold, which, yeah. I wonder what they think of the 6 degrees in the kitchen or the -17 degrees in the croft. Now, up the stairs that need to be sanded again and treated. They haven't been finished, guys, so yeah. Upstairs, what you'll notice straight away is that... Focus, please. It's way warmer upstairs, which is why we spend most of our time here. 17.2 degrees is pretty damn livable for us. I was just trying my hand at darts for a bit, you know, as you do. This is actually Meria's room, where she does all of her knitting and stuff like that. It's very pretty, and yeah, the windows still need to be renovated and the curtains are open, but hey. Yeah, so Meria is currently studying, and his book that says Företagsekonomiska forskningsmetoder. So, Jesus, business economy research methods, essentially. But yes, let's take a look through the magic predator camera. Okay, I won't call it a predator camera. We have the radiator switched on. This one works. 83 degrees? Okay, that's pretty impressive. Then we have the windows here. Now, are the windows any good? 13. Obviously, the radiator is very good here. So, okay, so I can feel a bit of cold here, but it's not as bad as downstairs. So we're hitting 8.4, 8.5, yeah. What about the other side? Yeah, it's roughly about the same. I don't think I have any real worries about this room. 19, 18. There was a bit of an issue in the cupboard, so let's have a look in the cupboard. Yeah, I can feel the cold here. So this is where the katvind, or the croft, is. And you can see it's getting a bit colder in here. I can imagine this wall isn't... Oh, it's 11.5. What am I saying? This is fine. This room gets a thumbs up. Now back out onto the landing. This is where the air heating pump is. It's right in the corner. But then we have our radiators, which are both working. We have a few cracks in the window, so I've written a sticker saying that the outside pane needs to be replaced. So we will see 10 degrees, 12.7. Considering the room is so warm, I would say that this is probably an issue. Oh yeah, exactly. So you can see here, this is when we have tape on. Okay, so 20.1, that's lovely. And then I've got a bit where we don't have tape. Okay, I ran out of tape. 14. Yeah, so you can see like 13 degrees. Oh, if I go on here, we can see that we get between 10 and 13 degrees. Okay, so 10 and 13 degrees versus when I do have the tape, which is retaining a solid 20, 21. So that is the difference between having masking tape and not having it. Okay, cool. So that's awesome. I'm not going to show you much of this bathroom because it's an absolute mess. But what you can see is that behind the toilet is really cold. 5.5. Now this is actually just above where that cupboard in the kitchen was. That's also cold. The wall isn't that bad actually. And then if I open here, the electricity by the shower, that funny thing. Oh my god, that's cold. So this is probably the outside wall, and I don't know if there's any insulation, but what we're getting here is -5, -5. Lovely. So something needs to be done here. I don't actually know what you can do here. If anyone in the comments knows what I can do, what could I do to heat this up? This door needs to be better, that's for sure. It's my gym slash office slash gaming room slash music room, I guess. Yeah, it's just the Swiss Army knives of rooms. You can see here, we have a radiator that does work. Look at that, 101.99. That's awesome. And then we have a radiator that doesn't work, 16 degrees, and that's annoying. One thing you'll notice is that we have more modern windows here. So this is a triple pane window with, you can see the metal fillings, which I've heard is actually worse in some cases if you use metal rather than wood because it has a worse R value, which means that it gets colder essentially. But yeah, one thing I think is that these windows weren't really installed very well. And so a lot of air gets in. You can see there's quite big gaps here. Let's take a look. 17 degrees. Yeah, it's right below a radiator, isn't it? So 12, 10, 11, 8. And then in the gap here, we're getting 14, 13, and that's despite having a radiator at 97 degrees right above it, right below it. Let's check the window where the radiator doesn't work, so that you can see the radiator's on, but it's at 16 degrees. Yeah, so we're getting around 9 or 10, as low as 6, all the way over to the other corner, 7, up, 12, 13, 8. It's not the best. So I think that these windows can probably be fixed. I think that we just need to do something with the lining. Hello, woodshed. So you can see all of these bags. Ooh, it smells like sheep. All of these bags are actually wool that we managed to get from our neighbors, so that's awesome. But here's something, guys. The window, now I don't know if you can see this, but any light here, you're looking at outdoors. So we are gonna have to do something about this. And then what we also found is that here, now this shouldn't be a hole, this is a hole made by woodpeckers, because woodpeckers decided to live in this space. And so we have, it's plastic. This is the only form of insulation we have. There's a hole outside. We can see the garden. That is what we're dealing with right now. It seems like there is supposed to be a bit of insulation, but the woodpeckers have made a hole in the outside of the house, crawled in, made a nest, and have been taking insulation from the wall, which is fantastic. Let's see what the heat is right now. Yeah, as you'd expect, -4, -3. Yeah. The whole room is really cold, -2.7. In some cases, this wall really does nothing. And it has got some insulation. I don't know what it is, it looks like fiberglass. But yes. Our electricity prices. Now, something that you guys may not know about Sweden is that, much like every golden retriever ever, our country has an impressive energy production. Now, this energy comes from many different sources, some renewable, some not so renewable. Sweden actually produces so much energy that they can export it to other countries in the EU. At first, that sounds really great. We're able to help countries that may need the help. But during the winter times, everyone needs to consume more energy. Sweden needs to consume more energy. And so it's not uncommon to hear that Sweden actually buys energy back from the EU that we would have otherwise had if we didn't give the energy away in the first place. So it's buying back energy that we gave away, if that makes sense. And just based on the tiny amount of knowledge that I have on the subject, it seems a little crazy to me. It seems a bit weird. Like, energy prices, they typically balance out over the summer and the winter because the summer is pretty warm and the winters are super cold. Like, electricity prices can get super high in the winter months, especially last year in 2023 when it was particularly cold in Sweden. Me and Merja were spending around 10,000 Swedish kronor for trying to heat the house. And that's for a house that doesn't even stay warm. It seems to me that if we didn't export as much energy and be forced to buy it back, then we'd have cheaper energy in Sweden because we would have more supply to meet the domestic demand, which in my head seems fair. At the same time, there's probably risks I'm not accounting for and advantages to the cooperation with other countries that I'm not thinking about. So, it would be cool to see what you guys think. Next, we'll go into our bedroom. This room is a bit colder than other rooms. Oh yeah, by the way, and these radiators, they don't work. So 10 degrees. All right, then we have the door between our bedroom and the kattevind, or the croft. The gap is reaching 0 degrees, 0.1. But let's go in. So this is currently where we're just storing suitcases and stuff. You can see there is one good reason why we don't have heat here. That's partially because we don't have a second window here. It's just literally one pane. But again, the crofts are meant to be cold. So right now it's 1.8 degrees inside. But where we got the issue the last time was here in the corner. So it's -6 or 7 outside. And it's -5.1 here. So we get no insulation in this corner. So we will see. One more room that I want to check is up in the attic. I haven't been up in the attic in a while and I know it's going to be cold. Headlight, check. Handlight, check. Oh, there's my shovel. Ooh, it's cold. The heat camera is saying 1.1, 1.3, so still above freezing. I also just really don't like the fact that we have a door here and then a giant drop. Let's take a look inside. Jesus Christ, it's cold. Yeah, so this is -3. Now, this is the hole in question. This is the reason why our chimneys don't work. It's because we have 3 holes on this chimney, and then we have 2 holes on the other chimney, which is that pillar right there. But we're getting 1.7, -1.7, -3. I'm just gonna print what I see. -1.5, -1.7. At the very back we have -4.8. Okay, so this is a problem. We've been told that we shouldn't do the installation until after the chimneys have been fixed, because if we have too much insulation here on this floor, no heat will be able to escape up, and then the attic will be even colder, and then it's more susceptible to damp and mold. But from what I see, we already have a bit of an issue on our hands with water. So hopefully that's not going to be the case. That's a big thing that we need to sort out. So what can we learn from the information that we've just gathered in this video? So it seems pretty clear to me that we can move the needle quite significantly by simply fixing the windows and the doors. Frankly, the door surprised me because it seemed quite new and well installed. But yes, restoring those 3 windows in the front room did so much more than I expected for the purposes of retaining heat. So that absolutely needs to be done in the rest of the house. I think there's 36 windows in the house altogether, I believe. Some of them are worse than others, so we can prioritize based on that. 3 down, 33 more to go. Cool. Secondly, it does seem that there's quite a few areas in the floor that are letting in a bit too much draft, and so we're probably going to have to go under the house to fix that, which I'm not really liking the sound of. I've never been under the house and I don't like enclosed spaces like that, but that should probably be pretty fun for you guys. Next is the chimney. That needs to be fixed. You know it, I know it. It was said in the last video, it's a non-negotiable. Of course, it would probably remove a lot of the need for putting so much effort into keeping the house warm, but it also means that we could use some of this more traditional Sekelskifteshus heat from wood burners and stuff to circulate around the house and then mix it with the heat pumps that we already have and the radiators for that more directed heat. So it would probably help a lot, and maybe economically it's a lot better for us to be able to buy wood and then a bit of electricity rather than rely purely on electricity in the first place. It will be more economical anyway because we're keeping the house alive by using the chimneys and letting it breathe. So yes, I think those are the main three things. Obviously we need to fix the hole in the croft, but that will obviously take place. We just need to get some more tongue and groove. I would highly recommend getting your hands on a heat camera, whether it's by buying one or if you're lucky, like we were, to be able to go to the library and loan one out. We were able to get a lot of insight from that heat camera, and I consider it to be an invaluable piece of information. If I didn't get it for free from the library, I'd probably pick one up just so I can compare pre and post installation and just make checks to see that everything is properly sealed. If you want to go ahead and purchase the heat camera that we were using in this video, I'll put a link down in the description and the pinned comment so that you can go take a look. If you use the link in the description, it will be an affiliate link, so I'll get a share of it. Don't feel pressured to use it. Go elsewhere if you find a better deal. But yeah, I would highly recommend that. And then I also, when I was looking at heat cameras, I found that you can get some that attach to your phone, which seems amazing to me. Like, it's a specific camera that goes into your charging port. So I'll put a link down there to a highly recommended one, which will also be an affiliate link, but I can't stand by how good they will be. I would just be going by what the reviews are saying. Either way, highly recommend, get one if you can. And if you have a heat camera already or you've had experience with them, love to hear it in the comments down below. Was it good? Was it bad? Did you notice anything crazy like -17 in one of your rooms? It'd be fun to hear. So make sure to write that down in the comments below. If you learned anything from this video or if you found it in any way interesting, I would really appreciate it if you liked and shared the video. It does a lot for the channel itself. And I do think that it's probably something that people need to know before they start looking at buying houses in Sweden, or if they have just bought a house in Sweden, because Sekelskifteshus can be completely different to the houses that you're used to, especially where I come from in England, and these are things that you should be prepared for. I hope you have a fantastic day, week, month, and beyond, and until next time, see you later.